Meitei! In Kuki-land! No Meitei! In Kuki-land! No Meitei! In Kuki-land!
इतना सारा भाई बहन लोग मर चुकी है और इतना रेप हो चुकी है, कभी भी इंडियन गवर्नमेंट अपना कुकी जो कम्युनिटी के लिए कुछ भी नहीं निकाली.
Indefinite bond announcement by the Kuki Zo Council and escalating tensions. A call for justice and separate administration. On March 8, 2025, the Kuki Zo Council, Kzc, the highest civil body organization representing the Kuki community, declared an indefinite bond general strike across all Kuki-majority areas in response to growing tensions between the Kuki and Meitei communities. This decision followed a series of unfortunate events triggered by a proposed Meitei rally in Kuki-inhabited regions, which had no peaceful resolution, leading to violent confrontations. The situation escalated further when a clash between Kuki protesters and security forces resulted in the death of one individual and injuries to over 100 others. The Kuki Zo Council's move to announce the indefinite bond came after the government's delayed response to the community's concerns and escalating violence in the region. The proposed Meitei rally in Kuki-inhabited areas, which took place without any peaceful resolution, was a significant flashpoint in the ongoing conflict between the Kuki and Meitei communities. The failure to prevent the rally and address the growing tensions led to a violent clash between protesters and an armed army escort. This incident on March 8th resulted in tragic casualties, including one fatality and more than 100 injured Kuki people. In response to this violent escalation, the Kuki Zo Council demanded that all federating units within the Kuki community enforce the ban strictly. They also expressed their dissatisfaction with the central government's approach to addressing the issue. The government's offer to meet with the Kuki Zo Council within a week after the escalation of violence was seen as too little, too late. Consequently, the Kuki Zo Council canceled its previously proposed nationwide peaceful rally. Additionally, the Kuki Zo Council called on other tribal bodies and organizations to stand in solidarity with the Kuki people, acknowledging the immense hardships the community has been enduring due to the ongoing conflict that has lasted over a year. They also emphasized that this indefinite bond was not just about the current tensions, but a reflection of the deep, unresolved grievances felt by the Kuki people in the face of ongoing marginalization. Kuki student organization leader summoned after protest at India Gate. A major development occurred when the leader of the Kuki students organization, KSO Delhi, was summoned for questioning following a protest at India Gate. This protest was sparked by a series of offensive actions carried out by Indian security forces, which targeted Kuki women, and the tragic death of a Kuki man during the escalating violence. The KSO Delhi organized the protest as a response to what they perceived as a systemic failure by Indian authorities to protect Kuki people, especially women, from security forces' aggression. The protest at India Gate was a call for justice and a demand for accountability in light of the violence faced by the Kuki community, particularly the targeting of Kuki women. During the protest, Kuki leaders emphasized that the Indian government and security forces must recognize the severity of the situation in Kuki-inhabited areas. The tragic death of the Kuki man and the increasing vulnerability of Kuki women to security force actions only added fuel to the fire of discontent. Following the protest, the Kuki Students' Organization leader was summoned by authorities, signaling an attempt to quell the rising voices of dissent among the Kuki student community. This move further added to the perception that the central government and state administration were not genuinely concerned about the Kuki people's grievances, but instead were focused on silencing their calls for justice. Kuki people's discontent over the president's rule and security forces' actions. The Kuki community, already struggling with the prolonged conflict, has expressed deep dissatisfaction with the imposition of president's rule in the region. Many Kuki people feel that this decision has not provided the security or protection that they were promised. Instead, they feel that the security forces have failed to act impartially, instead siding with the Meitei community, further deepening their frustration. A major point of contention for the Kuki people has been the actions of the Arambai Tenggol, AT group, which is officially recognized as a cultural organization. However, it has come to light that this group has looted over 5,000 firearms and more than 600,000 rounds of ammunition. These weapons remain in the possession of armed groups, posing a direct threat to the safety of Kuki civilians. The fact that no substantial action has been taken against these armed groups only fuels the Kuki community's fears. Many social media platforms have shown disturbing images and videos of members of the Arambai Tenggol group displaying firearms and explosives in public.
These open displays of weaponry have raised serious concerns about the government's unwillingness to confront these armed groups. The Kuki people have voiced their frustration over the apparent inaction of security forces and have called for immediate legal action to dismantle these armed factions, which they view as a direct threat to their lives and livelihoods. Furthermore, videos have surfaced showing the governor of Manipur meeting with leaders of these groups, which the Kuki people consider a grave injustice. Such meetings are seen as an endorsement of the Meitei-led groups, intensifying the perception of bias against the Kuki community. To the Kuki people, the failure of the authorities to take decisive action against these armed factions only serves to reinforce the belief that the central government and state administration are not addressing the real concerns of the Kuki people: bunkers, checkposts, and buffer zones, a defensive strategy amidst uncertainty. In the face of ongoing violence and the lack of adequate protection, the Kuki people have created their own security measures. The Ministry of Home Affairs, MHA, advised the establishment of bunkers, checkposts, and buffer zones as a way to enhance security. However, it is clear that these defensive measures, while helpful, are not a foolproof solution. The Kuki community continues to live in uncertainty, unsure of what the future holds. Nearly 80% of the porous buffer zones have been reinforced by volunteers from Kuki villages. These efforts, though commendable, are no substitute for a permanent and lasting solution to the ongoing violence and insecurity. The Kuki people have repeatedly stated that they do not know what may come next, as the situation remains volatile and unpredictable. Protests in Kuki-majority areas have highlighted the fears and frustrations of the Kuki people, who continue to live under constant threat from armed groups and a lack of adequate state protection. Conclusion: a call for separate administration and constitutional protection. As the scars of violence and displacement run deep, the Kuki Zo Council and other Kuki bodies have made it clear that the only path to lasting peace for the Kuki people is through a separate administration. They argue that only a distinct political and administrative structure, like a union territory or a separate state, can guarantee the protection and rights of the Kuki people in their own land. This call for separate administration is rooted in the belief that the Kuki people, like all other Indians, deserve to be treated as first-class citizens, with the constitutional protection and rights they are entitled to. The ongoing conflict has shown that the Kuki people cannot continue to live in an environment where their safety is compromised, their rights are ignored, and their voices go unheard. They demand the same level of security, respect, and constitutional protection that other Indian citizens enjoy. The Kuki Zo Council and other Kuki organizations assert that only through a separate administration will the Kuki people be able to live peacefully, free from fear and oppression, and with the recognition they deserve as full citizens of India. Disclaimer: the views expressed in this article are taken from various press releases, Kuki protesters, and public statements. Zalingam Media does not take responsibility for the content shared here. Videos published are sourced from social media platforms and are used under YouTube's fair use policy. Some videos are taken from Arambai Tenggol Group's Facebook posts and WhatsApp groups. For more updates, subscribe to Zalingam Media. Zalingam Media stands for the voice of the voiceless in democratic India, including the Kuki people, Bangladesh, and Myanmar.